in today's video, we're gonna learn how we can create this procedural pre-ring shader. And if you can see, it's completely procedural. You can add and delete the number of rings. You can change the distortion of it. You can also change the color of the bark. So there's a lot of interesting things to learn today. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna hide this model and I'm gonna create a new one, and we're gonna use a cylinder. So let's hit new and let's name this texture pre-ring. We are going to add two of these shaders here, which is a texture coordinate, and we'll also take the object input and add a mapping node. And right after this, if you might have already guessed, the way we're going to create the rings is using a wave texture. Let's take the color or the factor, either is fine, and put it into the base color. Now, if you see, there is not a lot of rings that you can see here, and that's because we need to change this bands to rings. And let's also switch this from X to Z so that it's always pointing upwards. We are going to change the scale to around 8. Let's add a distortion of about 2. We'll also add a detail of 5. Now the rings still look straight and we need to add more organic look to it. And one way we can do that is by taking the mapping node and adding a multiply right here. We will add a noise texture. Right, so let's add a noise texture. Let's plug this into the vector. Now we're going to take the factor and plug it into the vector of here, and then we'll take this vector and plug this into the rings, and immediately it blows everything up. And that's because the noise is way too much. So we're going to reduce this to 0.4, and then let's add a little bit of detail. Let's go 10, and let's reduce the roughness to like 0.3, 0.4. Now once we are done with this, let's add some color to this. Right, so we're gonna add a color ramp right after our wave texture, and let's switch this to B-spline as well, just so that the transitions between each color is a lot smoother. Now we're gonna need a bunch of sliders on our color ramp. So the first one's gonna be at 0. The second one though, it's gonna be at 0.02, I think, and then the third one is going to be at 0.2, and the next one is going to be at 0.7. And the reason I have all of these numbers handy is because I've already experimented a lot with this, and these are the numbers that I came up with. Now after this, we're going to need a lot of colors. So for that, I have already made them, but you are free to change them. I'm going to go into each and every color so that you get the hex code or the values in there, and then you can just add it. So this is the first one, this would be the second one, and this would be the third one. This would be the one at 0.7, and this would be at 0.1. And again, if you can see, all of these sliders are exactly where I showed you. So I'm gonna go and plug this into the color. Let's just delete this. Now it just looks very washed out, and one way to fix that is we can add a node called gamma node, and let's plug this in here, and let's just increase this to 2.3. So I'm gonna just stop this for a few seconds here and let you know that if you missed the spring sale on Blender Marketplace and you were not able to buy the Light It Up Pro add-on, I have added a coupon for you guys. For the first 100 people who buy it are gonna get 20% discount on any of the Light It Up Pro add-ons. Just use the coupon code Light It Up, and you can see it on your screen right now, and you can buy this product for 20% flat discount right now, only available for the first 100 users. All right, back to the video. So we need to add a little bit of noise in this because not everything is this plain in nature. So I'm gonna mix it using overlay, and then we'll add a noise texture. So let's add a noise texture here. We're going to change it to multi-fractal, and then we're going to plug the factor right in here, and you immediately see a lot of noise. Let's reduce this to 2.4, and let's add detail of 10. I'm gonna increase the roughness to 0.7. Now it's still too bright, and that's not what I want. So let's also add a color ramp here, and let's reduce this to like 0.4, and let's change this to B-spline as well. Let's bring this all the way up to 0.5, and let's change the color here to something that matches this, right? So I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna paste this right here. All right, so it still look a lot bright, so let's just switch it switch it to multiply. I think that should fix it. I'll add a subsurface of 0.1. Okay, we'll also add a sheen which would be of 0.05. Let's add a little bit of bump in there. Before that, I'm gonna just do a right click and shade auto smooth. We're gonna bring in a bump node and let's plug this into the normal, and let's take the noise from here and plug it into the height, and it's way too much right now, so I'm gonna reduce it to 0.1. And you also saw that there was a bark around the tree which made it more realistic. So in order to add that bark, let's add a mix shader, and we're gonna plug the BSDF in the top one, and then let's add a diffuse shader and plug it into the bottom one. And we're gonna increase the roughness all the way up to 0.8, maybe more than that if you want to. Let's reduce this here. Let's make it somewhat brownish. Now currently we don't see anything, and the reason behind that is we need to add a separator that separates the tree rings from the tree bark. And one way to do that is to take the length of our texture, and then we are going to add it to a color ramp, and then we're going to add this into the factor. Now it immediately becomes black. Let's try and bring this in here, and nothing is happening. And the reason behind that is that this is not a 2D object. So the length is bringing the whiteness somewhere in the center of the cylinder. So how do I make sure that it is always on the top? Well, one way to do that is that we can take this and add a separate XYZ, and let's add a combine XYZ. Combine XYZ and plug it into the X and Y, and take this and plug it here. So why did that happen? Well, because since we are not taking the Z vector, we are just flattening this entire object into a 2D object, which always is focused at the top. So once this is done, you can play with the slider. If you move the white one, it's gonna be less visible and more opaque. I guess that's about it. Hopefully you like this video. If you did, don't forget to drop a like. It does help me out a lot, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.